How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 6. So the first video on the new setup, so I do apologize if the audio or the graphics don't look the same as usual. Just let me know in the comments down below if the video and the audio are Gucci like we do on the deadline streams, but hopefully it's going to be adequate. But getting back to this video, I'll be going over my transfer plan after a pretty disastrous Game Week 5. I'll take a quick look at how the current Game Week 5 score is going, before jumping straight into my transfer plan with 2 free transfers. Now I'll also be giving you guys the context of my current team because I want to go over should I wildcard, should I not wildcard. Kind of the big talking point about Game Week 6 is going to be the wildcard chip, and I'll show you guys why I might not be using it. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going over a quick review, as I've mentioned, a disastrous Game Week 5, a little bit of an understatement there. Literally all the low-owned options scored points, and all the high-owned options, like my own team, didn't get any. So unfortunately we're sitting with a Game Week rank of 7.3 million out of about 9 million. That's simply terrible, and that's in a red arrow of about 100% to 562k. Now that was due to the fact that we only scored 34 points. We still have one player facing tonight as I'm recording this video, so fingers crossed that rank does improve. Now at least we do have 2 free transfers and 2.1 million left in the bank, so we can have a little bit of a mini wildcard, as the team definitely needs it. But in the comments down below, how did your Game Week 5 go? Was it a better game week than myself? Was it a worse game week? And where are you sitting in the overall ranks? But let's go over our actual starting 11. Going to go over the bench quite quickly. Not much happened on the bench. Very kind of binary ones and zeros. We have Johnston and also Archer that got 1 point, whereas Estupinan wasn't even on the bench for the Brighton game. Now I did have a little bit of caution about Estupinan after the Brighton press conference. De Zerbe said that he travelled quite a lot over the international break, and therefore I actually thought that he might be rested. That's the reason I kind of benched him. For Saliba, that was kind of a 50-50 going into the Game Week 5 deadline. But a little bit unfortunate for us, he didn't come off the bench, so if you guys even started him, you'll also get those bench points. Baldock and Archer had a tough game against Spurs, didn't expect any points there, so not too hurt by them. But now going on to our starting 11, and we have one player left to play for Game Week 5. Might not even have an option. It's going to be Turner for Nottingham Forest against Burnley tonight. Just a reminder, I'm recording this on Monday evening. Now I can't even tell you that Turner will actually be starting this fixture tonight. He had the birth of his child over the weekend, and also he might have even been dropped for the new goalkeeper that Forest signed towards the end of the transfer window. So I'm just hoping that Turner does actually play, gets me some points. I definitely need them. He has to absolutely haul to get me a green arrow. So I've accepted the fact that I'm going to be getting a red. But at least we do have a little bit of hope tonight. I just hope that Turner does play at the end of the day. But as you guys are watching this video, you know the outcome, and I'll post my updated rank in the comments. But let's go over the defensive department, and the quicker the better. The first player, Ben Chilwell. If you guys were to tell me that he was going to be benched in this game, I would have probably doubted that quite a lot. But what does Pochettino do? He benches him. Chilwell comes off the bench, gets a yellow card, and that's going to be 0 points. Chelsea also actually kept a clean sheet in that game, which is even more annoying. But I guess if you guys did double up with Gusto, you would have at least got 1 clean sheet. But don't you know what to make of this kind of Ben Chilwell benching? He was benched for Mudryk, a more attacking option. So at least if Ben Chilwell was to feature in those games, he would be quite attacking. But if he's going to be benched for the future game weeks, that's going to be irrelevant. So let's just see what maybe Pochettino says in the press conference on Thursday or Friday before Game Week 6. Because I'm actually really worried about Ben Chilwell. Udogie also got no points. Thought that he would at least get the clean sheet here against Sheffield United. They ended up scoring off a long throw. Udogie didn't get any attacking returns. So this was a pretty bad outcome from a great fixture. So like Ben Chilwell, great fixture on paper, no attacking returns, but at least he got the 2 appearance points. Who would have thought that Saliba would be our only kind of returner out of that great defensive performance? Unfortunately dropped out of the bonus points towards the end of that fixture, only the clean sheet points, but in a pretty bad game week, I'll definitely take those. Now if you guys did own Gabriel, also got 5 points, just picked up a yellow card, but at least he's actually starting fixtures now. But yes, very bad Game Week 4 defense, yet another one to forget. I think Game Week 4 was equally as disastrous. Let's hope Game Week 6 picks it up. But now moving on to midfield department, I'm going to start off with the man in the middle in Mbumo. I just said that I'm expecting kind of a blank out of him. At his cheaper price point, don't mind if he blanks every odd fixture. And I wasn't expecting much against Newcastle. They're just a great defense at the moment, even though Brentford are attacking super well. Unfortunately, they don't have enough to actually get me points. But I will forgive him, as I said, cheaper price point. He's got us enough points over the opening couple game weeks. Let's just hope he capitalizes on these easier fixtures. We then have Saka got an assist for the only Arsenal goal in that Everton game. I'm as happy he got an attacking return. Some people sold him for a Kyungmin Son that came back to bite them. I'm happy I kept my faith with him and he got me some points. Now because it was a low scoring affair, I can kind of forgive him for only 1 assist, even though it was an easier fixture. At least he outperformed a Raheem Sterling, who yet again is showing why he's not a great option. Definitely getting the stats at the current moment from an FPL point of view, not a great option at the moment, but he might be getting a little bit unlucky. I do kind of feel like he is the best Chelsea attacker though at the current moment, but that's not saying much as they're pretty terrible. But I was just super disappointed with Raheem Sterling because every kind of midfielder blanked on Saturday going to Sunday. Thought this could be the kind of day that he gets a massive haul, but unfortunately that wasn't the case and he only got 2 points. Also racked up a yellow card within the first 3 minutes, so my kind of hope of getting some points would dash pretty quickly, but as I said, he did have a few chances. Now the final players to talk about were also pretty disappointing. It's Rashford and Bruno, our double up from Manchester United, and they ended up getting thrashed by Brighton. Rashford had a ton of chances, his stats were actually pretty strong, just couldn't really finish in that game, whereas Bruno had a pretty quiet affair. So in this fixture, Rashford playing kind of high up as almost a second striker, got a load of chances, a lot of shots, but no final product. So yes, I am kind of worried about this double up. Obviously you don't want to own 2 attackers from a pretty kind of bad attacking side, and United at the moment look completely disorganized. So yes, the midfield department was pretty kind of lackluster. The only returner was an assist from Bukayo Saka, and all my hopes were dashed on Sunday when Sterling ended up blanking. The final position of the forwards, we're going to be going over Erling Haaland, and if you guys haven't watched that Man City game, please go watch it. If you didn't captain Erling Haaland, you got away with the massive one. If you did captain him, we missed out on a bunch of points. The reason I'm saying that is that Erling Haaland missed a total of 5 big chances. Yes, not all of them were kind of a very kind of big chances, but there were a few that I thought that he should have put away. So we'll have to end on 6 points after him getting a goal and only the 2 appearance points, but this could have been a massive haul on another day. But as mentioned, a lot of people did captain him, not as many as usual with Son's great fixture, so you guys were either lucky or unlucky if you captain him or not. The final player to talk about, what more needs to be said about Nicholas Jackson. Think that he's 1 yellow card off a suspension or something like that. He's got more yellow cards than goals this season. Just a super disappointing asset at the end of the day, had a very bad game against Bournemouth in my opinion, and definitely is on the chopping block for a transfer out. Just seems like he has no confidence at all, not really getting in those positions, the shots are pretty terrible, he looks pretty far away from some FPL points. So now you guys can understand why it was a pretty bad game week, but you probably can understand as well because your game week wasn't as strong. But did you guys do better or worse than 34 points? Fingers crossed Turner at least starts tonight's fixture, gets us some points, maybe a few penalty saves, a few assists. I definitely will take that. But now let's go on and see how my team is shaping up for Game Week 6. I want to move on quite quickly because Game Week 5, I want to leave it in the dust. Now before we go over the actual Game Week 6 team selection and the transfer plan, I want to give you guys a reminder, very important, the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League are returning this midweek, so a bunch of football still has to be played. The reason I'm saying that, of course, is a lot of Premier League teams do play in these European competitions. We've got a bunch of squads, a bunch of players in our current selections, and I'd watch out for team selections as well as injury news. For example, Man City, other Man City assets are on the horizon for a transfer in. Just make sure they come out injury free. They might even be rested as it's quite an easy Champions League game. Whereas those Thursday night games might be slightly tough because the time is reduced for recovery for the weekend. So just take note of team selections and injury news, but we'll go over that in the upcoming team selection video. I just want to remind you guys about the European competitions. But now let's go over the actual team selection, or at least the kind of initial team selection before any transfers are made. Now I do have 2 free transfers, so one has to be made this week, and I'll be going over some options in the next talking point. So I'll start off on the bench quite quickly. I'll be running through the positions very fast, as in the team selection I'll go more in depth. So the bench pretty much kind of picks itself. You've got Turner against Man City away, very bad game. We then have Archer and Baldock against Newcastle at home, and then finally Saliba against Spurs at home. Now I'll talk about why I actually benched Saliba when I go over my defense, but my starting goalkeeper at the moment is Johnston against Fulham at home, but I don't even know if he's going to actually play. The reason I'm saying that, of course, is because Dean Henderson signed for Crystal Palace towards the end of the transfer window, and Johnston hasn't been on great form at the moment. So could we see kind of a switch up in the goalkeeper department? Definitely. I'm hoping it doesn't come for Game Week 6, as Fulham at home's not a terrible fixture. But I will address Johnston later on when I talk about my transfer plan, because I might actually have to use a transfer on a goalkeeper. Then let's bring up our defensive department. It's Ben Chilwell against Aston Villa at home, Udogie and Spurs away, and finally Stupinan against Bournemouth at home. And that's why I'm kind of benching Saliba at the moment. That's just because the fixture's quite tough. I trust Udogie more from an attacking point of view, and that's why I've gone for the Spurs man over the Arsenal one. With Ben Chilwell, I do expect him to come back into the lineup. It seems like Pochettino might have been experimenting in an easier fixture, and I think we'll see Ben Chilwell in the starting 11 this game week. But definitely in the future, a big question mark about his playtime, and even if he does start, very tough fixture against Aston Villa at home. Udogie, obviously the North London derby, I expect goals from both sides, no clean sheets here, hopefully some attacking returns, but I am looking to make a defensive transfer this game week. Finally, Estupiñán, after that long travel in the international break, I expect him to come back into the starting 11, and Bournemouth at home is a great fixture. So no complaints about his fixture and his kind of playing time, I expect him to be back into the starting 11, and he is hoping for a massive haul. But now going on to the midfield department, and the fixtures still look pretty decent. I've got the United double up, Burnley away, very nice fixture on paper, but with the attacking form they're currently showing, don't have too much faith in these two assets. Saka has Spurs at home, North London derby, there's going to be goals in this one, no excuse for Saka not to be involved, and then Sterling is Aston Villa at home. Now I do actually think this game against Aston Villa could have goals in it. I think both sides, maybe Aston Villa's high line might be quite susceptible to the Chelsea counter-attack. I'm literally just holding thumbs that he gets at least one attacking return. Then finally Mbeumo, our budget option, has a lovely fixture, Everton at home. I expect Brentford to do pretty well here, no excuse for Mbeumo not to do well as well. Then finally our two strikers, it's be Erling Haaland, Nottingham Forest at home, definitely looking like a Kamsi option yet again. And if you guys did captain Son, you're probably back on Haaland for game week 6. Then also Jackson against Aston Villa at home, I expect him to probably get another yellow card, hopefully some attacking returns, but I've lost faith in him completely. So let's just pause here for a moment and let's look 2 free transfers. Should I wildcard? Should I not wildcard? Well, to be honest, I think my midfield department looks pretty acceptable. The defensive department, I mean, if Ben Chilwell does start, Estupiñán has a nice fixture, then can make a defensive transfer. And then obviously Erling Haaland up front, and we could always lose Jackson. So should I wildcard? I just don't really think this team needs a wildcard at the current moment. I still have faith in some of these options. I mean, United giving them one more game week against Burnley away. Surely they get some attacking returns here. The Chelsea assets, can they improve against Aston Villa? Very tough game on paper, but I still feel like the stats aren't too bad, but I do think it's slightly borderline. Now in the comments down below, let me know if you guys are wildcarding. Don't worry if you are, I'll release a video tomorrow. It'll be my wildcard draft if I was to use the chip, and that might turn my attention slightly. But at the current moment, I'm not looking to wildcard, I'm looking to use both 2 free transfers, and I'll show you guys those options now. So going over my transfer plan, and I definitely have to use 1 free transfer this week, but I'm actually looking to make 2 free transfers to improve my squad, hopefully. Now the first transfer I've mentioned, I want to make a defensive transfer. I do believe there's some action to be had in terms of the points there, and the player and the team I'm looking at is Newcastle and probably Trippier. Now I should have put this out there, if you guys can't afford Trippier, Fabian Schär, Botman are good options. At the cheaper price points might be better value for money, as Trippier might be rotated on the Champions League. But once again, a talking point about the midweek football. Let's just see the lineup for Newcastle that Eddie Howe puts out. If I do have any worry about Trippier, you can go to Fabian Schär or the cheaper Botman. The reason these assets are so popular is just look at those fixtures. Very tough start to the season. The fixtures improve dramatically at the moment. Sheffield United, Burnley and West Ham. Then after that, the fixtures get even better. Some very nice fixtures on paper. And obviously Trippier offers that attacking threat. Now I will detail the XG conceded stats for Newcastle, but spoiler alert, they're pretty decent this season, even though the fixtures have been pretty tough. So you guys know the transfer in, it's Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär or Botman. Who's the transfer out? Well, on the current list, it's going to be Saliba from Arsenal. The reason for that is not only is he not kind of attacking, very kind of low ceiling from a centre-back point of view, but the fixtures on paper also don't look too good. Spurs and Man City in the next 3, and then the fixtures after that kind of good one, bad one, good one, bad one. So I'd rather go for an asset that just has a sea of green. Now there is another selection that I could potentially also take out, that's Ben Chilwell. If I am worried about his playing time, if he's not going to start every single game at that fullback position, then I might as well just transfer him out. Now my only reservation about that is just look at those fixtures after Aston Villa. Fulham and Burnley, 2 great fixtures on paper, and if Ben Chilwell starts both of them, he could be absolute gold. So that's why at the current moment, looking at Saliba more than kind of Ben Chilwell, as his ceiling is slightly higher. So once again, this move looks pretty kind of locked in. It's probably going to be Saliba out for one of Trippier, Schär or Botman, and I'll probably leave this transfer for after the Champions League. Now the next move I could go for is more of an attacking minded move. It's actually going to be bringing Alvarez in. You guys have seen him over the previous game weeks. Great form at the current moment, more of a creative role than a kind of clinical role, but he's still racking up FPL points. Now there might be some concern of some Champions League rotation, so watch out for the game this midweek, but as mentioned, it's a pretty easy draw, so I expect Pep to actually rotate. Not only that, but we do have the first game of the game week coming up. It's going to be Man City taking on Nottingham Forest, so we might even get early team news. So that's why I'll probably leave this move till the deadline stream if I do go for it, as I do hope that we do get some early team sheets. Now the play I'm taking out is pretty obvious. It's not going to be Erling Haaland or upgrading Archer at 4.5. It's Nicholas Jackson out, even though he has some nice fixtures. That's my only kind of reservation about this move, is yes, Jackson is probably the higher XG minutes, also has pretty decent fixtures, Fulham, Burnley in the next 3, but Alvarez just seems like the better option. So this move is pretty kind of tempt. A lot of people are actually considering this. I think it's understandable. If we get word that Alvarez is starting on the weekend, it gets even easier, as Jackson's form is pretty terrible. So this move definitely kind of looks sensible. I think that I could see myself making this move, but as mentioned, probably in the deadline stream, as we might get early team sheets. Now the last chance I want to talk about is going to be if I need to address the goalkeeper situation. Now will I do this for a -4? Probably not, unless obviously Johnston and Turner have both lost their spots, but I could make a goalkeeper transfer if I don't do the forward move. Now the replacement will probably be Johnston out. There are a few selections I'm currently looking at. It could be Flecken from Brentford, but at the current moment, if I want to make a goalkeeper transfer, I might go for Nick Pope. Now the reason for this is obviously I don't have to hold him for the entire season. Yes, 5.5 is quite expensive from a goalkeeper point of view, but with the wildcard in the back pocket, I can then go for a cheaper option when I use the chip. I just feel like the Newcastle defense has to be targeted. Yes, the goalkeeper has a lower kind of ceiling, but I do think that Nick Pope is going to rack up the clean sheets in the future game weeks. So this transfer is slightly more boring, slightly kind of a lower ceiling in terms of the points returns, but if I have to make a goalkeeper transfer, this might be the move. So out of these 3, I do think I'll probably make 2 of these moves. The last one is pretty kind of situational if Johnston and Turner both lose their spots, but the first 2 of a Newcastle defender in and Alvarez in look pretty set. Let me know in the comments down below, are you guys wildcarding this week? Are you using free transfers? What transfers are you guys making? Do you like my moves? Or would you suggest I do something different? Otherwise, good luck tonight if you guys are starting Turner. Let's hope that he gets us FPL points, and I'll post my final rank in the description down below. But this is basically going to wrap the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hopefully the audio and the video weren't too bad on this new setup. Let's hope we create a whole bunch of new videos on it. But I'm going to sign off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.